The San Francisco 49ers are looking to retool in the 2025 NFL draft, and they have 4 top 100 picks in the upcoming draft. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down our first 3-round mock draft for the 49ers here, what we think they might do when it comes their time to pick. But before we do that, if you like the content that we put out and you want to help the Tracy Take channel grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell to get notified when new Niners videos come out. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you want to see the Niners do in the upcoming draft. And Ryan, with that being said, let's pull this up here. So
Let's
we did
do
a
it.
full 3-round mock draft. And so as you can see here, the Niners selection is in orange. They selected Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Josh Simmons might be one of the most interesting players. I think when it comes to like these first round selections, because if it
Yeah.
wasn't for his knee injury that he suffered in Oregon, he wouldn't be available at number 11. And so, but there are just some question marks with his overall knee. Just will the Niners feel comfortable taking him at 11? Will teams feel comfortable taking him in the top 10? Will teams not feel comfortable taking him in the top 20? So that's just where more information needs to come out, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see how his combine goes, if he does combine, or his interviews, if just his interviews, and how his medical results come back. But how this relates to the San Francisco 49ers, Trent Williams is getting up there in age. Their offensive line as a whole just needs to be improved in general. And Josh Simmons, before the injury, was probably the best offensive lineman in this class. You can maybe make an
Yeah.
argument for Will Campbell, but Campbell's going to kick inside the guard. He would be the best pure tackle in this class. You just watch his film, super explosive, runs like a running back at 330 pounds. I think I can just
315. He's in that.
315. Okay.
Yeah.
Only 315. But still
Yeah.
blowing guys off the ball here. And so I think he would fit really well with what Kyle Shanahan would want to have, it would want to get implemented into this offense. But that being said, though, the Niners picking at 11 here, there's so many different directions I feel that they could go.
Yeah. I mean, they really are kind of in a best player available situation. Another guy that I think they could go is Ashton Genty, especially as Christian McCaffrey's getting older. You really started to see the injuries kind of pile up for him. And then Mike Green, another riser in this draft process. So we actually did this before the Senior Bowl. And I believe since the Senior Bowl, we released like weekly first round mock drafts. I think Mike Green has been picked higher and higher in every single one. So that would be another option here at 11. Another option too is trade back. They're, in my opinion, getting towards the end of that like first, like in my how I feel about these players, these true first round graded players. Where to me, I only have 14 graded players. With 14 players with a first round grade. And so if they can move back, acquire some more draft capital, and then still get a relatively high caliber player, I feel like that could be an option that they could go with as well. As far as Josh Simmons goes, I think it would be a good fit. Trent Williams is still there. Josh Simmons did play right tackle when he was at Sacramento State before transferring to Ohio State for the last couple of seasons. So I do think that that would be an interesting prospect there for them to snag and kind of draft and develop. But if he, like you mentioned, did not tear his patellar, I really think we'd be having conversations about him going number 4 overall to New England. He would be that caliber of tackle if he continued to play at the high level that he was. So I really like Josh Simmons. Let's move on now to their second round pick. We went with Walter Nolen, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Just a really sturdy, well-rounded defensive tackle. Pretty good against the run. He has some pass rush upside as well, just with his physicality and overall strength. He was one of the strongest players at the Senior Bowl, and that really showed in the team drills. And so I think getting him here in that interior would be a really good fit. You get him to go alongside Nick Bosa. I think that defensive line would be heading in the right direction.
Yeah, Walter Nolan's one of those guys too as well. We talked about like where's Josh Simmons going to go, but I think Walter Nolan's the probably one of the perfect examples, I think, of how much variance this draft class could have on just the average draft position when it comes to mock drafts. Before Walter Nolan's a guy who's explosive, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, had a great season as well, and I could see teams falling in love with him in the top 20, and they'd want to like just like, for example, Cincinnati fell in love with him, and they think that he would really fit well into their scheme, or Seattle. they can maybe take him at 17 or 18, not knowing if he's going to be there for the second pick. But that being said, though, too, if teams like that aren't falling in love with him, fall into a middle second round or maybe even early third round pick. And it's nothing really against him. It's just there are so many different, just really good players like Walter Nolen that can provide similar value as well. I think a guy like Walter Nolen, this might be probably the average spot, maybe a little bit higher for him. But to your point, though, what he would bring for San Francisco would be an explosive guy in the interior and can maybe free up some opportunities for Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa alone is already going to maybe make things a little bit easier for Walter Nolen. The San Francisco 49ers team really needs to rebuild this defensive line as a whole. I think that's outside of all the major injuries to their offensive players, one of the other areas was their defensive line, the role players that they had to replace the people that left after their Super Bowl run. They just were not able to be as productive. And so I think getting a young guy like Walter Nolen can start to get some long-term depth at the defensive tackle position is much needed.
Yeah, and there are a few other options they could go with. They could go with Trey Amos. He went a few picks after this to Arizona. Kyle Kennard, another edge rusher, if they wanted to pair up somebody with Nick Bosa, and then also Jalen Royals. Debo Samuel is getting up there in age. They always are looking to have a multi-studded wide receiver room. So if they want to add another guy here that I think is going to be in a nice, valuable spot at 43, I think Jalen Royals, this would be an interesting landing spot for him as well. So moving on now to their first third round pick, might I add. Went with Zy Alexander, the cornerback out of LSU. A really good corner, a little slept on in this class, but I think he's definitely going to be more of that, like primarily zone corner. He has good feel for zone. He's not the stickiest man coverage corner, but I think when you look, they just signed Diomedor Lenore. I'm not sure
Mhm.
if that's how you say it, but and Travarius Ward is hitting free agency. So I think spending a premium asset here on a potential corner two for this San Francisco defense is going to be pretty important. And with Robert Saleh coming back, they do kind of run that Seattle three, like with each corner has a deep third. I think Zy Alexander could do really, really well in that defensive system.
Yeah, yeah, and so, and they have Renardo Green as well, who I think is more of a reason why Travarius Ward is probably going to hit free agency. Outside of also, do I think going to be his asking price as well. But I think Alex Alexander can come in, help out the secondary, especially too not as much the secondaries. Fall, they didn't have the season that they wanted last year, but once again, too, just the whole San Francisco 49ers team just was struggling with injuries, and then with the defensive line not being as productive, the secondary took a hit as well. So I think going secondary, this is about a good spot, I think, for them based off their other two needs, which is going to be in the trenches. And so if they want to go running back and get some more depth behind Chris Dylan Sampson would be a great guy. Jared Wilson, I think they want to keep beefing up that interior. He is going to be a solid pick. Probably I would assume he's probably going to be the top center. We'll have to see how the
Yeah.
combine goes. And then if they wanted to maybe take somebody else that their division rival would like, Noel Williams, another secondary guy that could take a spot. Did I pronounce his name right? Is that Noel?
Yeah, it's Noah Williams. He's a little bit more primarily of a man corner, but he definitely, I think, would do well in a Robert Saleh
Oh,
system
okay.
as so.
Perfect.
But let's move on now to their fourth and final pick in the top 100. This is a projected compensatory pick. So this is not a guaranteed one, but we went ahead and just did the top 100 anyways. Barrett Carter, the linebacker out of Clemson, just a really good, rangy linebacker. What is his name? The guy that tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl.
Dre
They have
Greenlaw.
Dre Greenlaw. He's a free agent this coming up offseason. And so I think going and getting a guy that can be Fred Warner's right-hand man in the draft, I think is going to be pretty important. If they don't go this route, they could also go like a Luke Kandra, Anthony Belton. Anthony Belton is a tackle. I think he has a lot of positional versatility at the next level, a little bit Mekhi Becton-esque, where he has the length and probably some athleticism to hang on the outside, but his best position might be interior at guard. And then Jordan Phillips, more of a run stuffing defensive tackle up from Maryland. But all in all, I think if you get him in this system and you can really get him going upfield, I think that could be a really nice fit for him with the edge rushers that they have there on the outside.
Yeah, I do believe linebacker is going to be a position of need for them because obviously Dre Greenlaw Didn't play nearly as much, but like did come back, and then actually then too,
Mhm.
related then to Dre Greenlaw, Devondre Campbell also is, I'm going to assume, not going to be
Yeah.
re-signed by the team as well with the falling out. So I think the linebacker position is going to be that they're going to look for here. It's well too because you have arguably the best linebacker in the league in Fred Warner, but you're going
Yeah.
to need some guys outside of him to help him out. And whoever you go and get, I think they're going to be learning from one of the best. So they're going to be coming into a great situation. And even as you said too, multiple times with Robert Saleh coming back as a defensive coordinator, I think they're going to be in a good position to succeed. So, but we'll have to see. The Niners, it's I feel optimistic about the Niners. I know Debo Samuel's requested a trade in between the
No,
time
they've
of
given
loan.
him permission to seek a trade.
Oh, okay. So kind of the same thing, but I see
Yeah.
it's different. So
There's a semantics difference that's
well, it's like the 49ers, yeah, anybody can request a trade, but the team could be like,
mm,
"No, F off."
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're playing with us, you're stuck. But
Yeah.
that one though is seems more open that he might move. And so,
Mhm.
maybe that opens them up to a day 2 receiver if they would like, or if Ted McMillan falls to them, or maybe if they like Luther Burden, they'd want to open things up and replace Debo. So, maybe some of those options, we'll start to consider, but in the meantime though, with nothing set in stone just yet. I'm going to assume Debo's going to be on the team because I feel like the Niners are just going to give him up for nothing. So, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of trenches, a lot of role players that they're going to go after and attack. And the Niners have done a good job drafting. So I feel confident that they're going to find some really good players here.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think that you just mentioned right there was that, like, they have the stars, they have the guys that can come in and be the face of the franchise, and we've said it repeatedly throughout this video series, throughout our mock draft series, that this is like the trash man draft. These are the guys that are gonna come in, do the dirty work, may not be the face of your franchise and whatnot, but, I think that a lot of teams are gonna win Super Bowls because of their draft classes. What are you smiling at?
I don't think I've ever said the trash man's draft, but I think that's the first time. I think that's the first time we've said that. But I get what you're
Well,
saying. I get
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
That is like they take out the trash. They do the dirty work. But anyways, before I was interrupted, uh
I didn't say you pause. I
I
can
know,
laugh
I
if I
know.
want.
Yeah. But no, I think that it benefits teams that are more established like the 49ers that can come in and get guys that can come in and be in that supporting role
Exactly.
draft classes like this. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this San Francisco 49ers 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.